Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath. So good to share energy with you today. All right, so gonna get right into it. Thank you for inviting me in. Welcome in. So good to see you on a late night. On a late night, we won't creep on through on a late night. Just a little me and you. I had this thing on my mind. Y'all know when lyrics pop through my head, I have to transmute it and tell you what the angels have said about it or what may be the takeaway for you. And so it is a rapper. Really, Kevin Gates was quoting the rapper, but I went and looked up the rapper, read the whole song, read the lyrics, and all of that. But what he says is, I lost a friend, but got a realer friend. Thought I lost a bag, got a bigger bag. Thought I lost a plug. He was really just the middleman. And I thought that that was such a brilliant premise for talking about how it feels when we are going through any sort of transition regarding relationship dynamics at large. So, as a whole. So, not just romantic, not just platonic, not just friendship. There are so many variations of relationship dynamics that we deal with and that we go through. And that is what I wanted to talk to you today about. Sometimes it may seem as though we've lost something, and we may even struggle to think, how could we replace this? How could this be different? How could it be better? And what I would advise for you to do is never to strive to replace anything or anyone that was once important for you. I would ask you to figure out what the lesson was and figure out what they were there to teach you, because that's how you can make the best of whatever the experience was between the two of you. And I thought about that, especially about the thought I had a plug. He was just a really just a middleman. That's specifically talking about, the transactional business of Durugos. I can't say it on here. They censor everything, but of the street hustle, trap star kind of energy. And sometimes you can think that you have like the best hookup or access to something, and really it's just a middleman. Or you think you had a friend and then you discover, oh no, they were not really that great of a friend. You get a realer friend. You think you had a love, you get a better love, whatever the case may be. And there are so many hard lessons that come along with that, because what we struggle with is the releasing of said thing, right? So when we have the thing in our hand, you will be asked very often to release it. The angels and your ancestors are testing you. Can we trust you to release what you perceive as a win, what you perceive as something that you have, what you perceive as something that's a gift? Can you let go of it? And we can be hoarders emotionally. Y'all know that show Hoarders that was on A&E, right? Well, we can be like that with our emotions and our baggage. One of the things that I've noticed as I've worked with clients is the way that people hoard relationships. And that's something that my angels really work with me on. There are other areas in my life where I be hoarding, okay, y'all? So just please know, no one is perfect here. But regarding relationships, I had to get really clear to not hold on to those. And they made it so crystal clear to me that you have to release that a tower may fall, and that scorpionic energy of, endings, transformation, and then a new birth or new beginnings may be something that, encapsulates and surrounds you, but it's there because there's a better fit for you. The interesting thing about the tower when we're dealing, and also I should be saying test and 1, 2, and 2. I have been going through a series of mics. I had a whole mic thing happen in Mercury retrograde, when I tell you everything that could go wrong did in fact go wrong. I recorded hours one night of video for you guys, and it wasn't on. So I'm paying attention to the mic and everything, and paying attention to my lights and everything, and just we're praying for the best. I don't necessarily love the sound of mics because, y'all, I'm a very self-aware queen, and I know I already have asthma and breathing stuff all the time. Here you guys have heard me with inhalers, my day 1 A1s, and so I don't want to be too breathy in your ear. But also there are people that have, what is it, misophonia, where they can't stand the sound of like not only chewing, but like talking or mouth sounds like make people crazy. So I don't know if a mic is exactly the best thing for me. So just give me some feedback below on how it sounds to you and if it's too overwhelming. And if not, we'll go back to doing it without one. I used to do it with one all the time, got a different phone, didn't have a phone jack. Anyway, thought I had a good phone, got a better phone, that part. So that back to our lesson. But in any case, when the tower falls, what it is we have built up the way that we think our world should be. We have built up our identity. So the tower, each brick of that tower is comprised of things that your tribe taught you, things that you learned in this one relationship over here, things that you learned in grade school, things that a teacher once said to you. So you are accumulating all of this information, and then you're building this edifice that stands behind you. And when a tower moment happens, which is scorpionic energy, it's an unforeseen, almost cataclysmic or shifting, life shifting event that happens for you. What happens is that it comes crumbling down. And that means that you are then looking at the rubble laid out before you. Lightning strikes it, quite literally, in a lot of tarot cards. The lightning strikes, the tower falls, and you're like, oh my goodness, what is happening in my life? Why did this happen? This isn't fair. I didn't ask for this. Why did this person betray me? Why did I lose my job? Why did I get sick? You fill in the blank. We all have had moments. Those are called tower moments in our life if we're looking at it metaphysically. Well, what's happening when that crumbled edifice is laying out before you is that you get to look through all of those bricks and you get to decide to build a new you. And it's a brand new you, but it has this kind of rustic feel because you're taking with you the things that still have an appeal to you. A lot of times things are foisted upon us. They're dictated to us. We are told how to think, what to think, how to believe. And when the tower falls, it means that it wasn't working for you. It wasn't a place that you actually wanted to inhabit. It wasn't a place that you actually wanted to live or be. And you were outgrowing it. Okay, tower moments happen at any time in our life, but we notice them especially along the ley lines of our Saturn returns. Okay, so that happens in your late 20s to early 30s, and then again in your late 50s, early 60s, again in your 80s if you're lucky. James Earl Jones just passed away. He had all three of his Saturn returns. He was 93 when he passed away. So he was acting up until very recently. So he got to assess his life at each Saturn return and say, do I like the life that I've built? Does it fit me? Well, a tower moment, you don't have to wait 27 and a half years or 28 and a half years like you do. That's the amount of time that it takes for Saturn to rotate to the place in your chart from the day you were born. So it only goes around 3 times on an average lifespan if you're living that long. Most of us will at least see 2. If we're very lucky, we see 3. My point in saying that is you don't have to wait for that moment of destiny to hit you. It'll hit you in other ways too. And so it'll be a cataclysmic thing. It'll be one of those like Jerry Springer moments where it's like, my best friend cheated with my so-and-so. Like all those things are tower moments. Well, you get to pick through the bricks and you get to say, do I want to own this? Do I want to keep this? And do I want to build it into the next part of my life? Does this fit me? Do I like how this feels? Okay, so maybe there was a brick that came in from your parents that was put into you when you were 4 years old, and you always heard them talking about money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. Well, you figured out how to manifest money as you've evolved and grown. And you figured out it doesn't grow on trees, but I can actually manifest it. And I don't have to be tethered to whatever was the model for my parents, right? So you are now open and privy to a whole new way of being and existing. So does that brick get to stay? You guys get it? Does that brick get to stay? And for some people, they do. Some people follow the model of their parents' financial advising because it works for them and they like it. So they say, you know what? Actually, the tower fell, but I'm going to build my new building over here, my new tower, and I'm going to put this brick back in. But you can say that brick actually doesn't work for me, or it feels outdated, or it doesn't resonate with the person I have evolved into. So I actually think I'm going to leave it on the ground there. And maybe someone else can come pick it up if they want to, or maybe it'll just become, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Let's say there is a girlfriend that you had in college, like I'm saying, like a platonic girlfriend, and you really liked the way that she dated her boyfriend. She had great boundaries, and you learned a lot observationally from watching her in a relationship. So when that tower falls to you at some point in your life, that brick is a brick you get to look at. You get to pick it up and you get to say, for example, I have my astrology deck thing here. It looks like a brick, but you get to say, you know what? I actually liked the way that she dated, and I've never really implemented that into my life, but I think I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it over here. Does that make sense, guys? So you're able to now rebuild your tower brick by brick with the things that do work for you, the things that do fit for you, the things that do make sense for you. And it doesn't have to be everything that was taught to you, that you were indoctrinated with. It doesn't have to be everything that you think should fit. It can just be sometimes the things, the bricks that fit you. But that's just a quick overview of how tower moments work and how you can optimize, transmute, and make the best of when a tower moment happens. There will be lessons that your father's words are echoing to you, or your great or favorite aunt, or that teacher that made an impact. Those might be bricks that get to stay in the new edifice that you erect. Does that make sense? But when we think we had a friend, but we got a realer friend, or we think we had a plug, but he was really just a middleman, we can sometimes be very short-sighted. And when I'm thinking about the plug of the middleman, specifically, I'm channeling the movie Blow with Johnny Depp. And I'm thinking of his best friend Diego, who was always trying to find out who the connect was for George. In that movie, George was the guy that Blow was written around. And he was trafficking large quantities of all the things that we can't say on YouTube. But in any case, he would hold it back because instinctually George knew if he gave it to him, he was going to double cross him, which is exactly what he did. Because sometimes people, well, obviously you cannot trust people, and in that business specifically, there's no honor among thieves. But there's some reason that I'm channeling this. I feel like what I'm supposed to be telling you is to trust your instincts. Trust your instincts, because even if it's not about a plug or a middleman or going up or down, what you may know is that keeping something incubated into yourself may be the best deal going in town. That may be something that actually works on your behalf, incubating and growing something privately or not sharing, whatever that may be. But let's say George thought he had the best plug he ever had. George's career evolved and evolved and evolved because it started off with little stuff. He actually started out selling, I think, herb, really, which is now legal, which is hilarious at how much time people used to get for that. But he started out with that. And then he was moving so much weight of it, and he had such a great operation that he was offered other opportunities. Terrible example, but you guys get what I'm saying. So he was offered other opportunities where he could then move other weight and make more and more money. But there was a point in his life in the beginning of the movie where it's all very, and I think it's meant to be very intoxicating. It's filmed so beautifully. They're on the beach. He's falling in love. They have all the drugs they could want and need for them. And it's just herb. So it's very mild. Everything is very manageable. He's a kingpin of sorts. And he reflectively narrates the movie. So there's a part where he's like, I couldn't get better than this. It just couldn't be any better than this. I had my girl. I had my best friend that was with him. You know, whatever, that guy specifically, that guy I think recently has had a crazy body transformation. The guy that's his best friend is like a plus size guy, and he crazy body transformation. I don't know who that's for here. Maybe it's for me. I don't know, but it was really, really cool to see. But anyway, the guy in that movie, he had his best friend with him. He had his girl, everything. Everybody was just like living their best life. And he reflects on the beach and he was like, I didn't think it could get much better than this. But then his life not only gets better figuratively speaking, and bigger and more and more and more things come. Terrible movie, terrible lesson, moral of the story, kids don't do that. But when you see it, it's intoxicating in the way that a lot of those mafioso kind of like drug lord movies are, because the first half seemed all manageable and quite romantic, really. Not romantic because of his romance, but like the intoxication of infinite finances and being able to take care of your parents and being able to travel the world and being young and healthy. He was living his best life, so he thought. There'll be times in your life where you are paired up with somebody in a relationship, in a job, at a place, and you're like, man, you're looking around, you're like, I manifested this. This is really good. This is the best it's going to be. And then the tower falls and you're literally kind of like knocked on your butt and you're like, oh my gosh, this was not only not the best it could be, this no longer fits me or my destiny at all. And when those moments happen, you get to see if you want to rebuild from whatever bricks are in the rubble. But if you don't want to do that, you can just start from scratch too, because sometimes God will sweep away whatever you might have thought was the best thing for you. It couldn't get better, to show you I had so much better for you. The whole premise of that guy rapping is to say, I thought I had a friend. That friend at a season in your life could feel like they were really, truly a friend. But then you get a realer friend later and you're like, oh my gosh, I had that happen with my bestie. I had that happen where I had thought that I had a bestie. I thought that she was the best bestie the besties could ever bestie. And she went absolutely rogue on me. This was like many, many, many years ago. My bestie was also a twin flame. And then I got a bestie that was so good for me and so good to me, in so many ways, right? And even our relationship dynamic changed, but she was so good for me. And I was like, I didn't even know it could be this good. Does that make sense, guys? Sometimes you'll be in a connection with somebody and be like, this is the best, Gillette, the best a man or woman can get. And then God's like, let's let that tower fall and let's put some respect on your destiny. Actually, it could be better. The way that woman, that bestie, showed up for me, did things for me, cared about me, and loved me for the season that we had was brilliant. And it was nothing comparable to what I had with the previous person that I had put so much, energy into and thought so highly of. And I was like, God, she didn't try at all, did she? Comparatively, when I got a bestie that did try, I was like, oh, she wasn't even doing anything. And that's the premise of that song. Thought I had a friend, got a realer friend. Thought I got a bad bag, got a bigger bag. Thought I had the plug, but it was really just a middleman. There's always more that can happen, but more is usually predicated with a tower. So it's uncomfortable. And I don't know what the title is going to be for this, but it's uncomfortable because, yeah, you can have that more, but it means you will have to release what you have. And you will have to release your identity. And we humans do not like change. We can have drastic changes. Like, think about people that win the lottery, right? That's a tower moment. Even though it's positive, it's a tower moment because it drastically changes everything in your life. And then it really puts a light on who people are in your life. Are they going to be avaricious and greedy? What do they want from you? Are they using you? Do you have boundaries? That lottery win, which can seem like such a blessing, can also immediately become a curse because you're like, oh my God, do I have boundaries? Do I know how to manage my money? Do I want to go into hiding? Do I want the clout of knowing that I won the lottery over going into hiding so no one can stalk me, find me, and drink up my money, or potentially unalive me, as we've seen lots of lottery winners get into unalived situations because of murderous people that were around them. So that's a tower moment, but you have to decide how you manage that. It could change your life forever in the best of ways. There are some lottery winners that still have their money, but they've done studies and documentaries on it. It's a very small percentage that keep it, because tower moments are all about our free will. You can have, and someone can say that's the best thing that's ever happened to me is this tower moment of winning the lottery, right? And someone else could say it was the worst thing that ever happened to me was a tower moment of winning the lottery. Everyone deals with their moment, their tower moment, and their opportunity differently. How will you deal with it when it comes to you? And there's something to be said about releasing or letting go of what you think you know, or what you think suits you, or what has suited you. If I would have been reluctant to miss the moment and the exit strategy to get away from the best friend that I had to jump in with the bestie, and it wasn't a monkey branch swing. It took a long time for us to develop and build that relationship. But if I would have done that, do you know what would have happened? I would have missed out on a really incredible relationship. I would have missed out on being cared for and loved in that way, because I was holding on to whatever was in my face and whatever the reality was of that experience, which was a pittance. It was breadcrumbing, to say the least, right? And as you evolve and grow in your relationships, whether it's besties or husbands or wives, it's girlfriends or whatever, if you're doing it all, in a healthy and up way, you may realize that once what once fit you no longer fits you into your tomorrows. What fit you yesterday does not fit you in your tomorrow days, okay? And so you have to decide if you want to stick and stay. We often get intuitive nudges that we are supposed to go our own way, whether it's a job or whether it is out of a relationship dynamic when a tower falls. But what we usually do is claw to stay in because we can't fathom the words to this song, which is you thought you had a friend, but you really could have a realer friend. You thought you had a bag, but you could get a bigger bag. You thought you had the plug, but he was really just a middleman. There are so many things that are yet in store. My favorite Frank Sinatra song, Out of the Tree of Life, I Just Picked Me a Plum. The best is yet to come. That's what the name of the song is. It's the best is yet to come. Out of the tree of life, I just picked me a plum. You think you've seen it all, but you ain't seen it, hun. Something like that, right? Wait till you feel life's my warm embrace, something. Wait till our something. I can't think of the words right now. But the point is that the premise is literally the best is yet to come. Okay? The best is literally yet to come. And that's, you think you got a bag, but you got a bigger bag. You thought you had a friend, but you get a realer friend. You thought you had a love, you got a realer love. You thought it was a plug, he was just a middleman. And if you can internalize that, then you will hear those nudges, because the tower falling is not something that's easy to miss. It's very hard to miss when a tower falls. It's very hard to miss when things are going wrong or when a relationship is not working anymore. It's hard. You almost have to work hard to become obtuse to the reality of it, because it's so in your face and so struggle filled and calamitous and angsty when there's a shift in your matrix reality. But it's because your angels want you to swing into the thing that's better for you. And here's what was a hard thing for me to hear years and years ago. I was in a tumultuous relationship with a girlfriend, and her sister had clocked it. And I remember her sister being like, you guys are terrible for each other. And I was like, well, I'm being a great girlfriend. And I was super pious and super in my, like, well, this is not my problem. And the truth is, upon discovery, it wasn't that I was perfect, but I was in fact not the problem. I'm still friends with the sister to this day. That sister distanced herself from her sister many, many years ago. She always said, I got to keep you in the divorce, hilariously. But she gave me a reality check. She was a Capricorn, and she just told me straight up, she was like, there's someone better for her too. Oh, excuse me? Excuse me? Years later, upon us still staying friends, she was like, yeah, I didn't have time to give you the nuance of it. You needed that cold water slap in the face. Because, yeah, there was someone that would have been better for her. And someone that wanted to live the lifestyle she did. And someone that wanted to do the things that she did. And her life was not my life. We lived two different lives, like night and day. Okay? Whenever that ex spins a block, and she does periodically, I'm like, God, I want to thank you for knowing that I thought I had a girlfriend, but there was a better situation for me. And I was not a good fit for her either. But sometimes we'll get in our ego, and when endings come, we'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to let go because I put work in, or I've been at this job for 15 years, or I've been in this marriage for fill in the blank, or I've been with this friend for fill in the blank. But if it's getting tougher and tougher, and the tower's falling and the bricks are crumbling, and it no longer fits in their bricks that you don't even want to take to your next place, when you're like over it, we all know that feeling of like, I'm over this. What are you fighting for, sis? That's my question to you. What are you fighting for? Because the thing is, there's someone better for them too. And it doesn't mean you didn't try or you didn't do the best you could do, but it means that maybe they were never going to meet you at the level that you are being guided to. It doesn't mean you're above them. It just means you guys have different life paths. And when I thought about specifically the twin bestie of yesteryear, I thought, oh my God, I would have hated it there. We were not only not compatible, we were not intellectually compatible, we were not really emotionally compatible. She did not meet my emotional needs. I didn't feel juicy and loved by her ever. I always felt breadcrumbed and malnourished, and I'm a big girl, okay? Maybe won't always be that way in size, but I am magnanimous too. I love largely. I am I show up in people's lives when I love you. So I was like, why am I being with someone who was like allergic to, like, if my love needed carbs and bread, she was like, oh my God. She was, like eating disordered on the Annie side. I'm not going to say the word because that's also probably a trigger for you too, but you all know what I'm saying. So it was like, why am I loving someone or allowing someone to love me who is terrified of the love that I give? And who doesn't nourish me and who doesn't make me feel seen and who goes out of their way to actually withhold what I needed. Okay. Now there's a lot of things to explore there. I have a video up here about existential kink, and my existential kink was probably wrapped up in that too. That's a whole nother kettle of fish and another video for another day. But sometimes we'll do things that are like, what's the word? Almost sadistically, like punishing to ourselves, but we're getting off on it. That's the premise of existential kink. So you have to figure out what that is. Meaning, if you're in the same situation over and over, there comes a point where you have to ask yourself, why do I like this? And how come I keep attracting either people like this or situations like this, right? So that tower keeps falling because it's like, you don't really, this doesn't work for you, but you keep going back to it because it's easy to do, or it's easier to do, or it's a subconscious thing that you're called to do. So when I think about staying in that relationship, and I think of who I am today, and I think of the love that I give, and the reciprocity that I receive in various different ways from various people that are dispatched into me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was attracted to that archetype of breadcrumbing for many, many, many years in my life. Even if I thought I healed it, it'd show up in another form, I'd get tested and retested. But when I think about it, I have passed the test, but I look back on that and I thought that would never fit. And I think, why did I like her so much? And it's not just to be hateful, right? You know, exes are exes. I will tell you, I have some exes I'm friends with to this day that I actually still like and respect who they are as a friend. There are some people that you will, but there are some people where you look back and you're like, what were we doing? That was a mess, right? And if I would have held on and been like, no, don't leave. We've spent this many years and blah, 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 then I would have never been able to take flight, figuratively and literally speaking, and get out of there and be in a connection where someone was effusive and vocal about their love to me and cared about me and was willing to integrate me into their world, life, family, whatever the case may be. And again, in all relationships, you'll go through ups and downs and seasons and whatever, but I'm so glad I got to experience that reality. What is it said? It is better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. As a Leo, that's always my motto. It is better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. But I was not losing anything leaving that love of a friendship, that best friendship. That person did not fit me. She didn't even like me, and she was malnourishing me. She was not feeding me the love that I deserved. But if I would have been stubborn, which a lot of us can be, and I have been at times, programmed into my own existential kink and my own, bad design, where I'm like, wow, I want to be a good friend. Empath, we are guilty of that. We do that very often. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be, it's called codependency, where we're like, well, I've just got to prove that I love them. Well, why should I prove that I love someone more than they ever loved me? She never loved me the way that I loved her, and she didn't reciprocate to me even a modicum or a fraction of what I gave to her. And the words of my sister-in-law, figuratively speaking, even though it was not applied to that relationship, they rang true. When I think back on it, I'm like, there was a better person for her than me. Someone who could love her in the same kind of meager way that she actually enjoyed love. She did not want a full flourishing love. She didn't want a full spread. For some people, it's overwhelming. They're like, just give me a hot dog. I'm good. I don't need a 5-course meal and a moose bouche. I don't want a palate cleanser with mango. Like, some people, you don't like how you do, but do you. And find out that it's okay to leave, and not only leave, but release something that you think is not only near and dear to you, but you think, well, this was a dream come true for me at some point. Well, will another dream come true? Well, if you're living, yes, the dreams are always perpetually coming true if you believe they can, and if you want them to. But don't let your sweet dream become a beautiful nightmare, okay? And not even a beautiful nightmare, an actual nightmare, because you're holding on and trying to stay there, wherever there is, in the job, in the relationship, in the health position, in the whatever. You guys name what it is for you. When that tower comes in, trust that there is a better thing for you, that you were with the middleman, but you have the actual plug now, or you were with a love you thought was a love, but you got a better love now, or you were with a friend who showed up for you in the best way they could at the time, and they were a friend, but you have a better friend downloading, coming in, or that has arrived. But in order to do that, you have to do the thing that is so hard for our ego to do, which is to release what we have in our hand. That's literally faith. That's jumping out on faith and saying, okay, hands in the air, wave them like I just don't care. And I'm going to go from here to there. I'm going to take this leap of faith and believe that even though I can't see it or it hasn't shown up, that I should make this move because I have trust. I'm not just talking to you guys about trust regarding a relationship. For me, it's happened in career, relationship, in every dynamic of my life that I can think of. I've had to deal with this, but I take the leap because I'm far more excited about what the future holds, because I know that if God provided for me abundantly or made me meagerly in one situation, how much better can it get? And that's a gamble and a bet I'm always willing to take. I'm always willing to take that. That's a Leo in me. But if that's not you and you like safety, and here's the thing, I say that's a Leo in me, but Leo's a fixed sign. I have some other things in my chart that aid that jump that I do, that I'm willing to do and willing to take that risk, because sometimes you can be miserable in a situation, sis. And so, like, what fun is that? But I've learned to release. There are a lot of lessons and towers that fell that got me to the place where now I'm like, oh, the tower's about to fall. I can tell the tower's falling way before anybody else around me can. That's just a hazard of my job. And so they may think I'm moving strangely. I'm like, no, I don't fit here anymore. This is not for me. This doesn't work. And actually, there's someone that's going to be better for you too. No one wants to hear that, because we have this reflexive reaction to being rejected. We all do. Every one of us, myself included. But I lean in now to it because I realize there's a new tower that will be built. There are new experiences. And I have never not been pleasantly surprised whenever I decided this person was the absolute best. And then they say, but there was something better for both of you. Even if you hate the idea of that, you're like, they don't deserve that, they need their karma. We're human. Of course, people are going to love other people. They're going to move on. This is what we are all mandated to do. In this collective, Black Mama energy, I'm focused on you. I don't care about what your little friends are doing. I don't care about what your ex is doing. I don't care about what that ex-bestie is doing. I don't care about what that old job is doing. I care about you. Have you found your happy? Or are you still holding on tightly to the brick that no longer is part of your destiny, that is battered, that is worn, that is tore, that is hollow, that can't hold up anything? You have to ask yourself how willing you are to release what you have in your hand to take the swing. Because usually what you'll swing out of, or into, is probably something that is so healthy for you. And I will say this, there's a quick disclaimer. Just because you swing into a new thing doesn't mean it's your forever. And you need to be okay with that. Whether you're a fixed sign or immutable or not, you need to be okay. And that's why I say show up in your relationships and extract every ounce of what you can from them. Give everything you can to them. Give everything you can to that new career path. Give everything you can to your new health fitness journey, whatever that is for you. Give everything you can to the relationship if it's a lover. Give everything you can to the bestie if it's a bestie. Love them and show up for them, because a tower comes all the time. Those towers come like trains. And it doesn't mean that your angels don't want you to be happy, but they want to see, have you learned? Let's try this again. And some of us are very lucky to have jobs that last for 4 years. My mother is one of those people. Some of us are very lucky to have, relationships that last forever. I've got to observe clients that have been with people for a long time, but there are still many towers that happen inside of that. You know, when it comes to my mother, I can think of other opportunities that were presented, but she liked the safety and the comfort of the 9 to 5 that she worked. And it didn't mean that it didn't pay her bills and it didn't work for her, but it means that I could see where there was a swing that was offered to her, but it would have caused discomfort to release the thing that for her was longevity and filled with simplicity. Don't judge yourself if you choose to be in the place that's safe, but pay attention if the place that's safe starts to get cataclysmically disastrous right before your eyes. Because what that is your angel saying, we're going to make you say bye, bye, bye either way. And you could do this, as they say, the nice way, the easy way, or the hard way. You will have to deal with whatever issues plague you. The tower falls to make you aware that you have spiritual work to do and evolving to do. Let's say you're in a relationship and you don't want to do the work with your spouse specifically. I've seen this happen with clients. I've had this happen with friends. You don't want to do the work with your spouse. Well, it's going to come up in a different way. And it may be something that actually hurts you more in a different way, because sometimes we can be apathetic when we're in our relationships. And it may be something that costs you something more emotionally. And your angels were like, hey, we just wanted you to do it with this, because even though it was uncomfortable, had you had made the swing, you would have got to keep more than you thought, or it would have worked out better for you. But they don't make us choose. Free will is a thing. My mother stayed the course, and she stayed the course. And she stayed the course. That was not the life that I chose. I'm a swinger. In that way, not really. But I'm a swinger in the way that I'm going to catch the next train coming. And I'm going to trust that God and my angels and my ancestors have got me. And I'm going to trust that I can absolutely change and shift my reality. And even if it sucks, whatever's in front of me sucks, and I'm like, I hate this. I don't trust it. It feels uncomfortable. It sucks. It hurts. It makes me feel out of sorts. It makes me feel like ignorance. It makes me feel like a novice and a noob. My angels say, deal with the learning curve and trust the work we're doing in you, because what we're trying to bring you to is something that's much better for you. And angels and ancestors never misguide you. You light workers watching, they will come through for you every time. So to whomever I'm speaking to tonight, you are in the midst of making a decision. There is a precipice change in your life, or you're sitting in your new place that you just built, the new relationship, the new actual place, the new connection, or maybe you're sitting in the middle of nothing. I have a video coming up here called Navigating the Liminal Space. Liminal space is this kind of like haunting in between. Think of walking through an empty mall in the middle of the night, a mall from like the 90s that's abandoned. That's a liminal space. I'll put up some examples when I make that video. A video game liminal spaces as well, virtual reality liminal spaces. But my angels were really speaking to me, and they said, teach the collective about navigating the liminal space, because a lot of us are used to stimuli, right? A lot of us come from abusive backgrounds and narcissistic parents or relationship dynamics. And if things aren't exciting or moving a mile a minute, it doesn't feel like we're living. And part of our evolution is to understand how to navigate that liminal space, the great gulf of the in-between, where it doesn't seem like much is happening. And you're questioning, should I have taken the swing from this to that? Because in the middle of this to that is this kind of, not purgatory, but a liminal space where nothing much is happening, and it's quite disorienting. But in order to do that, you have to trust that you will go through that. It's a hero's journey. I think about Moses walking the Israelites through the desert. They were in a liminal space, wandering and wandering and wandering. And when they've calculated how far it actually was to get to where they were going, it should have taken them literally a fraction of the time, maybe a couple of months versus 40 years. But that happened because they had lessons to learn. And so sometimes we'll be held in that limbo, that liminal space right there. So video upcoming. But if you are able to navigate that and not be disoriented by the fact that it's not as exciting as whatever you might have left, or whatever you don't know what you're going to, you haven't reached your proverbial land of milk and honey, as Moses was promised. Just, you have to trust that the angels are working on behalf of you, and they are trying to get you to that space. Okay? They're trying to get you to a place where you are in a much better position, in a much better situation, and in a relationship, a job, or a body that actually fits you, that's actually worthy of you and of the work that you've done for yourself. It reflects you. And so today, little mental exercise here. I want you to think about some past jobs, past relationships, past friendships that you had where you were like, this is it. It doesn't get better than this. And then a tower moment comes, reflect on that tower moment so that you can understand. Because there's so much education in the reflection of the memories, okay? So think about what happened, because if it happens in the future, and it always does, not to say everything is going to mash up and not work, but it is to say that you will have an opportunity to upgrade, up level, or to stay, like my mom chose to, right? She doubled down. She said, all my cards are in. I'm staying here. That's not a decision I would have made, but I can't judge it because she had free will. And that's what worked for her. And that's what made her feel edified. But I want you to think about those past connections and how you thought it was just so right. And I want you to find one that you can laugh at, where you're like, oh, girl, what was I thinking, right? And that energy is what I want you to harness into a ball, right? And put right into your solar plexus so that you can be brave. That's your self-esteem place. And you can remember that laughter of ignorance when you didn't realize how much better it could be. Or maybe think back about your first little like rendezvous with somebody. And then when you figured out what rendezvous were actually supposed to do, and you got the hang of it, and now you're not just like in the liminal space with a partner, but you're actually participating and getting exactly what you need. There's reciprocity, there is ecstasy, there is orgasm. Think about that first time to that. That's why you have to move into the next place that they're calling you. Because why would you want to live a life where you didn't know the joys of making love with someone who actually was a right fit for you? Y'all, we all have had a bad lover, so reflect on that. And what if you stay because that bad lover was really nice and they got your coffee, on Thursdays from your special place or whatever, but they were not like, and then other things started to fall apart. None of us in the collective are that superficial. Let's say other things started to fall apart in the relationship. And so you get out of it. The tower moment happens. And then a year or two, you find yourself in another relationship with someone who somebody finally matched your freak, right? Somebody finally matched your nasty. They have stamina. They say you're an athlete. Someone matches you and you're like, oh, I get why all that chaos happened. I didn't even know this fulfillment existed. I didn't even know that I could have this. A lot of clients I've had have had that experience. A lot of us women watching have had that experience. But sometimes we will stay in something that's comfortable for us because we're not even thinking about that. We're like, okay, whatever. I got the relationship. At least it's like better the devil you know. Sometimes it's better to say no to the devils, period. And just ask your angels to transfer you into the thing that's right for you, that's going to grow you, and that's going to nurture you. It was part of my destiny to not stay with that best friend from years ago because as an empath and as a practitioner and as a teacher, my angels were like, we want you to have a friend. It's literally in your Akashic records for you to be loved completely by a bestie. It was an assignment that it was a destiny. We were meant to collide. It was an assignment that was dispatched into me, downloaded to me via my Akasha, and my angels were like, you can't stay here. You can, because free will exists. And then she's going to continuously treat you like shit, and it's just going to devolve into nonsense, which it was starting to. Or you can trust us and be in the liminal space of discomfort where you don't know what's behind you or in front of you, but or at least in front of you, we definitely know what's behind us, right? But if you decide to take that leap of faith, we can get you to this next destiny appointment where the love that will be in your face and on your heart and on your soul will be some that you will never forget. You were meant to encounter that. Because as a teacher, I needed to be loved that way to be able to have something to give back to the collective. Relationships of all different kinds come into your life for that reason. Someone who will not do, they always say someone will do exactly what someone else will not do. A lot of people will not cooperate with you and give you the kind of love that you want or lifestyle that you want or whatever it is that you want, but there is somebody that will. Okay. And there were things in that relationship, to be perfectly fair and balanced, that I was not willing to give her because she was going to have to be integral and honest with me, which she was not capable of doing. So I wasn't compromising myself because my spirituality mattered way more than gratifications in any capacity, no matter how lusty or bodacious I could be in that arena. I was like, you're not willing to do the spiritual work, so this you do not deserve. But she did find someone who would do exactly what she wanted to. Remember, maybe for them, they're someone much better than you. And in that case, there was a person that was much better for her than me. And I got to be loved by a bestie that treated me better than anyone had for a long, long time. Because I wasn't supposed to stay in that situation. I had a divine assignment. And so think about that when you're making the transition, okay? 444 on the clock right there. That's perfect. That's about the work you put into a relationship specifically. That's about a balanced situation, a balanced job, balanced body, balanced work, balanced relationship of any kind. And you have to have 4 stilts on a house to have it stand properly. Don't let people convince you to sign up unless you're comfortable and you want to stay in the safe place and to stay where they're not giving you the best of what they've got. Just because you don't know what's coming doesn't mean that it's not already in escrow for you, that it's not already written in your Akashic records for you to encounter that. Whenever I get hopeless, guys, and I'm like, oh, there's another mountain. I'm thinking of Miley Cyrus. Always going to be another mountain I'm always going to have to climb. There's always another tower. You're always going to have to redefine and evolve. And when I'm getting ready to climb towers and do things, I'm like, oh God, I'm so tired, guys. I don't want to do it. I'm checking out. I feel worse for wear. I want to hide from the world. I just don't want to do it. And my angels are like, you didn't want to do it last time. And look how good that turned out. And even if, and again, you can't be bitter if things don't work out for the rest of your life. They're not supposed to. And the way that I get optimistic now is when I see a tower coming, people think that I'm crazy. They're like, why are you acting like this doesn't bother you? Why are you so okay with ending this opportunity of a job or relationship or you name it? It's because I know that my angels and ancestors don't lie to me. They've proven me time after time that if the tower is falling, get out of the way. Don't let any of those bricks fall on you and injure you. And then just wait. Even navigate the liminal space. But then wait, because what's going to happen is you're going to get exactly the right thing for you. And you're going to find yourself on a beach somewhere, figuratively speaking, saying, oh my God, I didn't think it could be this good. But it can be. You can have exactly what is right for you and exactly what is your destiny. You thought you had a friend, you got a realer friend. You thought you had a bag, you got a bigger bag. You thought you had a love, you got a realer love. You thought you had a plug. They were really just the middleman. The angels want to show you that what you think is so amazing may have served its purpose, and now they have more in store for you. But you have to do the heavy lifting of trusting and releasing, navigating the liminal space until they can actually pop out and show you. So good sharing energy with you guys. Come back and join me next time. We'll continue to evolve together.